Food is fuel for your body, your mind, and definitely your sport. But let's face it, nutrition is confusing, and the expectations on girls and women to be thin and have a six-pack are exhausting. If you've ever been frustrated with your body, confused about nutrition, obsessed with eating healthy, or guilty when you don't, underate, overate, or overtrained, and overwhelmed with all the pressure, then this podcast is for you. Nutrition can be easy. You can take control of it, but it might start with letting go of control by asking for help and making a change. I'm Lindsay Elizabeth Cortez, sports dietitian and owner of Rise Up Nutrition, where I empower female athletes to overcome nutrition concerns and perform at their highest level, to stop being confused by all the mixed or harmful messages, and finally have confidence in your body as a fierce, fit, and fueled female athlete. Hello, everybody. It's Lindsay Elizabeth Cortez, owner and sports dietitian of Rise Up Nutrition, and of course, your host of this podcast, Female Athlete Nutrition Podcast. Well, at the time of recording this, I don't know exactly what the title will be, but it is something along the lines of To the Parent. And I just want to start right away. If you are not a parent, don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. What this episode is going to be about is I am going to talk about to the parent of a child who might be struggling with eating. Anywhere on the spectrum of what nutrition struggles we face, this podcast episode is for you. But I also want you to know that if you are a parent and you don't think that your kids struggle, maybe you're listening to this podcast for yourself and your own needs, but you do have kids. You're like, my kids don't struggle with nutrition, but I'm listening to this information for myself. I still want you to listen to this episode because somewhere in here, as I ramble, I'm going to drop some really helpful information for you as well. And also, if you are not a parent at all, maybe you are a teen athlete or a college athlete, and maybe you're struggling with nutrition and you don't know how to express this or talk to your parents about it, then I want you to use this podcast to just help you realize your relationship with your parent and maybe also give it to them to listen to. I definitely have a lot of conversations with high school and college athletes who are looking for my help, but not sure where to start the conversation with their parents. And I'm happy to guide you through that. I do have some other resources. I might even include a link in the show notes of a silly little Instagram video I made one time, giving you almost a script to talk to your parents, but use this episode as another way to open that conversation with your parents. And last, I want to say, if you are none of the above, if you are not a parent of a child struggling with nutrition, if you are not a parent of a child who doesn't appear to be struggling with nutrition, so you're not a parent at all, and if you're not a teen or college athlete struggling with nutrition yourself, and you are in fact just a female athlete, then I still think listening to this episode can be helpful, because if you have other friends that might struggle with nutrition, or if you have a friend that is a mom whose daughter is struggling, or you are a teammate and you are just not sure how to navigate these conversations, or figure out what is going on inside somebody's mind that might be struggling with nutrition, then I still think this is helpful. So there is my long intro to say, keep listening. But ultimately, the reason I wanted to talk to the parents here is because so often I do work very often with high school or college age athletes, and their parents are coming to me saying, I just don't understand why my child won't eat, or they won't listen to my advice. Maybe they'll listen to your advice. And so I talk to a lot of my clients who are in this age category and ask them, hey, why didn't you listen to your parents' advice? And they came back with some really great reasons that I wanted to share with you. Kind of boils down to just about 4 major reasons. And the first reason that your child won't listen to you when it comes to their nutrition or how to fuel is because, number 1, you're their parent. They're not going to listen to you just because you're their parent. Don't worry, I'll go more in depth. But here's a little more detail on that. It's not just because they're just never going to listen to you on anything, but ultimately what one of my clients said actually was really telling was that, the truth is sometimes my parents said the wrong thing. Or, even I know maybe you didn't say the wrong thing, but it was perceived as wrong. And it almost just like makes the situation worse. So one of my clients actually sent me a quote. I'm just going to read it to you. For anyone who struggles with an eating disorder, you know what I mean when I say parents sometimes do more harm than good because they don't know what to say. Working with a professional like Lindsay is so important because they know just the right thing to do and the right words to say to guarantee efficiency in recovery. Every conversation I had with Lindsay helped me understand nutrition, my body, and my goals. I couldn't have done it without Lindsay. My mom tried everything to get me to recover. They tried for years, but it only took Lindsay less than 3 months to get me back to healthy, back to running, and my period came back just 6 months later, just as Lindsay calculated. So yeah, that was one of my clients really just saying it's almost like, doesn't really matter what you do, mom, dad, because sometimes it did more harm than good, and working with a professional really helped. And I think in that what this boils down to is trust. Your child probably wants somebody that they can really trust, and what creates that trust, I don't necessarily know it. I'm not going to say that they're just going to trust in me just because I'm a professional. That's not always the truth, but it might be a combination of being a professional. Maybe your child doesn't think that you, mom or dad listening, actually understand nutrition or actually understand their sport and what they're going through, or you don't understand their peer group and the pressures that they're feeling. And trust me, I get it, right? You've been there. You were once in high school at one time, but at this moment in time, your child just doesn't feel like you understand them. And so having trust that somebody does understand them, having trust in their professional knowledge when it comes to nutrition, or trust that they can relate and have walked in their shoes. So I think that's a huge thing that it boils down to as to, reason number one that your child is not listening to your nutrition advice is because, quite frankly, you're their parent, but it boils down to trust, and them really needing to trust in somebody. And they might trust you in other areas of their life, but perhaps just not in this. But another reason, especially when this comes to teen athletes, that you being their parent means they're not going to listen to you is really because this is just a time in our lives for all of us where we're trying to establish independence. And so this is reason number 2 that I think your child won't really listen to your nutrition advice, is because they're really in this time where they want to make the decisions on their own. And the more that you try to take control over this, the more they're just going to rebel against it. One of my clients specifically said that for her, she just felt it was really important for her to figure this out herself, even down to, hey, these are my mistakes to make. I want to make these mistakes. And of course, that would be very painful as a parent to watch your child make mistake after mistake after mistake. But, this client of mine really felt like she was at an age where she wanted to take ownership of her life. Now, if you're seeing your child make mistake after mistake after mistake, we want them to take ownership of their life, but in the right way. So it's, how can we empower them? How can we empower them with the tools and the knowledge to take ownership of their life, to establish themselves, to figure this out themselves, but of course, in the right way, and not see them go down a bad path. And I think that's where, of course, this is a client of mine and we're working together was great, because that's something that I do with my clients. I do work with clients that are under age 18, but I have the conversation with the parents about how important it is for your child to take ownership of working with me, to hold themselves accountable at age 15 or 16 and 17 for sure, 18 for sure. Like, we really want to empower them to hold themselves accountable to reach their goals. And so when I'm working with a high school client, I really am working with the high schooler. Of course, I'm going to help support you, mom and dad, as well, but they need to own this for themselves. They need to learn this for themselves. And the hand holding isn't going to work anymore, right? So I think this establishment of independence is another reason why your child isn't taking your advice. And I would encourage you as a parent to try and find a way where you can foster their independence and empower them to take ownership themselves, but of course, in the direction that is healthier for them. The third reason that your child might not be listening to your nutrition guidance or recommendation has a lot to do with communication, moods, and a little bit of rebellion. I don't really know a more clear way to say this, but I'm jumbling it all together. Communication, mood, and rebellion. So one of my clients recently really struggled with her disordered eating and recovery, mostly because of the way that it intertwined with her relationship with her family and her parents specifically. Ultimately, her parents were so upset and so frustrated and so distraught over their child's health that they were just angry at her all the time, or upset or moody, which really, for this client of mine, when her parents were always angry at her, it just made her more angry. It just made her feel like she could never do anything right. And it just led her to really wanting to rebel even more. I think we can all resonate with this. If somebody's always going to be angry at me and always going to be moody and snippy and upset with me, like, I don't even want to try to satisfy them. I just feel like rebelling against them even more. So that plays a huge role, and that's tricky to unwind and unravel, but it is important for you as a parent to be cautious of how much your mood is actually perpetuating the actual problem. Another example of this is some clients of mine where their parents are just very anxious. Even if the client is doing good, your child's doing good with their eating, they're on a right path, for whatever reason, your history of what you've watched your child go through, you have so much anxiety around the situation, and your anxiety makes your child feel more anxious. And then when they feel anxious, they're just nervous about everything they do. Maybe they're so nervous that they're starting to keep secrets or lie to you just because they want to please you and they don't want you to feel anxious. So now they're lying to you just so that you are more calm and relaxed. But then once your child is lying about their behaviors or their exercise or nutrition, now they feel so ashamed and guilty, and this just perpetuates the entire problem once again. So again, this mood, your mood as a parent is going to affect your child's mood, which is going to affect their behaviors. It might perpetuate the problem of the disordered eating. It might create rebellion, literally do the exact opposite of what you want them to do. And it really all comes down to good communication. I had another really great client and her mom over the summer that when they first met with me, they actually did have really good communication. They had excellent communication. But the mom was still, what basically the short story is that there was an incident in the past which led to the hospital. And here we are years and years later, but the child is showing signs of the same nutrition behaviors again, and of underfueling a little bit, of not having a menstrual cycle, of over-exercising a little bit. And so instantly the mother got very anxious once again of, oh my gosh, this is going to happen again. I don't want to be where we were years ago, and just feeling really anxious. And of course, then the teenager got really anxious, and they both just came to me, even though they were really great at communicating, just in this state of anxiety. What's happening? The truth is they didn't even call this an eating disorder or disordered eating. They really didn't resonate with either of those terms. They just called it, like, with air quotes, like, my eating. It's a thing. It's a thing. We couldn't even put terms to what this thing was, but eating created anxiety within the family. And again, working together was working with me, at least as a professional, was important to reduce anxiety on both ends. We need to reduce the mom's anxiety and we need to reduce the teenager's anxiety, empower the teenager that she's doing the right thing, let the mom know that she's doing the right thing, bring everybody's anxiety down so that this quote unquote eating thing could actually be sorted out with emotions, out of the picture. So again, the third reason that your child is struggling to listen to your nutrition advice to them is because your moods are playing into each other too much. And your communication has got to be so on point. And the moment that it's not, fluctuations in moods, this desire to rebel or keep secrets from you is just going to blow up. I know I shouldn't be laughing about it, but it gets messy. It gets really, really messy. So we're on point number 4 now, which I think is my final point. So point number 1, that your child won't listen to you is because you're their parents, which ultimately comes down to just trust in are they trusting that you really understand what they're going through right now? 2, because your child is trying to establish independence at this age and they want to figure it out on their own, even if that includes making mistakes. They just want to do their life. Number 3 is because your moods are playing off of each other, perpetuating the problems, worsening the problems. It's your mood is affecting her mood is affecting your mood, and really absolutely outstanding communication is needed. And sometimes a third person in this situation, whether that's a dietitian or a therapist or something like that, is going to be needed to unravel all of these emotions that are going on. Okay. And the 4th reason that your child might not be listening to you when it comes to advice on nutrition and fueling is because of the hypocrisy. Unfortunately, your child isn't going to listen to you when you say you need to gain weight if you yourself are on a diet. Your child isn't going to listen to you when you say, it doesn't matter what you look like, who cares what you look like, when you just made a comment about somebody's butt. Your child isn't going to listen to you when you tell her she should eat a donut, when you yourself just made a comment, oh my gosh, I had too many calories today. And I'm a little bit at a loss of words right now because I can't tell you how often I have heard this as I'm working with a client and we're trying, and no matter what the age, by the way, this is no longer about high school or college age athletes. I work with clients in their 30s, clients in their 40s, whose own parents have made these comments about food, body, dieting that's affecting them and their choices. And this is why I said, even if you're a parent, but you're listening to this podcast just for yourself, not for your children per se, I wanted you to listen to this because your children are watching. Your children are listening. If you're on a diet, then your child thinks that they need to be on a diet. If you're checking yourself in the mirror 10 times a day, then your child's going to think, I should be checking myself in the mirror 10 times a day. Or mom checks herself in the mirror 10 times a day and still doesn't like what she sees. Maybe I need to look in the mirror 15 times a day. Like whatever it might be, your children are watching you. They're listening to you. And I don't say this to tell you how to parent. And first and foremost, I should have said this in the beginning of the podcast, actually, but I'm actually not a parent myself. I hope to be someday, but I'm not. I am just telling you my perspective as, I was once a child, weren't we all? And then I work with some young athletes and I work with all these clients that tell me how much of their nutrition problems stem from their parents and their parents' nutrition problems. If you haven't listened to the episode I just released two weeks ago, which was episode 10, it's the new year to break the diet cycle. I think this is a really, really important one to listen to, because if you as a parent are sucked into diet culture in any sense of the word, then it's going to be really difficult for your child to listen to you when you tell them you need to eat more, you need to eat this or eat this way or eat that way. They're not going to listen to you because they can see the hypocrisy in your statements. I had a client recently who was intentionally trying to recover from disordered eating and intentionally trying to gain weight. And it's really hard for her to do that when she wakes up every morning and her mom is just making a shake, a protein powder and almond milk, and that's all her mom has for breakfast. Meanwhile, she is being told that she needs to eat, a whole cup of oatmeal and 3 tablespoons of peanut butter and an Ensure shake and just so much more food. And that was really hard for her every single day to watch that. Mom just has a shake. Mom has a shake that I know is only 150 calories and can't possibly be a good balanced breakfast. And it's from this MLM company because she's doing this 60-day diet detox thing. That's going to be really, really hard for your child to do what is best for them and their health when they're watching that. Now, I'm not saying that if you're a parent and your child is going through disordered eating recovery in any sense of that word, that you have to literally walk the walk with them. In fact, I teach all of my clients the importance of only holding themselves accountable for their actions. And I teach all of my clients the importance that what other people do with their nutrition has nothing to do with you. I am having this conversation every single week that we cannot compare ourselves to others. We cannot judge how other people eat. All we can do is focus on how we eat. And I will keep pressing this and I will continue to press this message. However, if as a parent, you are trying to do whatever you can to help your child fuel better, then I'm going to tell you it's also going to help if you fuel better. It's going to help. I'm not saying you have to eat what they eat. It's just going to help if you also are respecting your body and your nutrition and your exercise in the process. I had another client whose parents were really engaging in a lot of exercise too. And that's where this client's passion for exercise, running specifically, started. Her passion for running is because her father has a great passion for running. And it's actually a wonderful thing and a bond that they have together. But with that being said, when your child is being told, hey, you're limited to 30 minutes a day or 45 minutes a day, and this is what's best for you right now in your body, and then dad goes out for a 2-hour run, that's challenging. It's just creating a more difficult situation. So again, I'm not saying that as a parent, you can't do your thing, because with this client specifically, I've really had to work on the fact that, hey, your dad's healthy, you're not. You have to respect your differences. Someday when you're healthy, you can get to be where your dad is. And I know you can be. And in fact, she's there right now. He sent me an email the other day saying, well, she's officially the fastest person in the family because she's doing that good. So we are so excited for her. But I digress. It's going to help. If you as a parent are trying to do everything you can, then it's going to help if you take a hard look in the mirror, is what I'm saying. Don't just put this all on your daughter or your child to say, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this? Take a look in the mirror and take a look at what you're doing with your nutrition, with your exercise. I feel like I could stress this one a little bit more because this is a really, really big one, but I'm afraid I'm just going to keep going in circles. So I do want to end that fourth statement of the hypocrisy with take a look in the mirror. So I might have already hit on this, but I'm rambling a bit, so I've lost my train of thought. But again, if you're not a parent yet at all, but maybe someday will be, I want you to keep this in mind, that girls are watching, girls are listening, kids are watching, kids are listening, and just to be aware of how your behaviors might rub off on other people. And this is why I want you to go back and listen to that episode 10 of Breaking the Diet Cycle, because not only are you going to help yourself, but you are going to help children and the next generation. I truly, truly believe that you can help the next generation and change people's relationship with nutrition just by being a role model of it yourself. So to kind of summarize and wrap up this episode, I just want you to know, if you are the parent of a child who's struggling with fueling or disordered eating anywhere on that spectrum, you are not alone. You might be thinking, how come my kid doesn't get it? My kid just doesn't eat more. I don't get why they're not listening to me. You are not alone. I've heard this before, and it's not your fault. It's really not your fault, right? It's a blend of these reasons. The first reason just being because you're their parent, they're not going to listen to you, as silly as that is, but they want to establish their independence. Your moods are so intertwined, and, take a hard look in the mirror and just analyze the hypocrisy that might exist in this relationship between you, your child, food, and exercise. And for all those reasons, you are not alone, and there is help, right? You don't have to do this alone. And again, if you're not a parent, but usually listen to this podcast just for yourself and your own needs, then I hope that this still kind of opened your eyes to the complex relational issues and family dynamics that might exist with food. And so as you move forward in your life, and you might have a family someday, keep all of this in mind for your future children. Or even, again, if you're listening to this podcast for yourself, but another parent out there that has a child that's struggling, just know how difficult and how messy this can get, which I think I'll just end here with a quote from one of the parents that I worked with recently. They left this review on my Facebook page. And so I just want to read this to you. I can't thank Lindsay enough for her guidance with my daughter. She's given my daughter nutrition skills to last a lifetime, and I am now confident that my daughter's eating habits won't shorten her life. My daughter is running better than ever and happily succeeding in her freshman year away at college. The program was worth every penny and more. There's nothing more important that I could have spent the money on. I strongly recommend Rise Up Nutrition for people looking for coaching to meet the unique needs of an athlete. So thank you for listening. Share this with a parent in need. If you are a young athlete yourself listening, share this with your parent. If you're struggling to explain the dynamics on your own, share this with them. And then get in touch with me if that's helpful to you. You can reach out to me, head to my website, www.riseupnutritionrun.com. That's www.riseupnutritionrun.com. And you can click the links to schedule a free 15-minute call with me to talk about your needs, both as an athlete or as the parent of an athlete. I would love to talk to you more and see if we can overcome these issues that we talked about today and find you a way forward, both for yourself as the athlete or as the parent. I really hope you enjoyed that episode, and thanks for listening. But before I let you go, I have free resources that you can have access to right away, right now, so that you can start fueling your body as a fierce, fit, and fueled female athlete. First, I have your Red S recovery race. If you've ever wondered if you might be struggling with Red S, curious to learn more, or know you have Red S and are looking to recover fast, then you can head to www.riseupnutritionrun.com/RedS and download the Red S recovery race. See how you place and figure out the next steps to recovery. Plus, while there, I have a few other great resources for you, including 3 nutrition secrets that every elite athlete swears by, and access to our private Facebook community, Female Athlete Nutrition. So again, to gain access to all of this, head to riseupnutritionrun.com/RedS. That's /REDS. And you can gain access and get the help you need fast. Too many girls and women and female athletes struggle with nutrition, but you don't have to any longer. Become fierce, fit, and fueled. Links in the show notes, and I'll see you next time.